obviously within technology, you're going to see more teleworkers, remote workers. You're going to have that blend in the manufacturing area of you have your back office operations working potentially remote for unforeseen circumstances or just for efficiency. How do you have that management between teleworkers and then your on-site workers?
Really interesting question, and it's been forced upon us, so to speak. And so in the HR world, which I aid a lot of the time when I'm working with bigger entities, we already saw this coming. The telework was going to be the future, and even HRs, a lot of the employment issues that you fall upon with working together were supposed to be eliminated. And so, we were kind of seeing it from, many, many miles away. Who would have known the pandemic would happen and force it upon us? I mean, that's really what the difference is. What's been interesting is that the managers that have embraced it have been really the keys. They're the ones that are like, you have to trust your employees. I guess that's what it comes down to, is there's a trust factor there. And that trust factor was not seen. And I will say, even in my industry, in some of the bigger firms downtown, you saw partners say, oh my goodness, I have to actually rely on my associates, which you would think in a professional atmosphere that would be a given. It is not, unfortunately. So that has been kind of an interesting twist. Also, making sure that you have the technology at your fingertips. One of the things that I did when Kelloom Consulting came into existence, I made sure I could do everything remotely. And that was something that was a changeover for me 3 years ago. And so when COVID hit, I had no changes. I was already working with technology. I was already working with, over a phone. I mean, this Zoom is a little bit more resourceful. I have to say, I went through a major contract with my co-consul recently, and I love it. GoToMeeting was fantastic to actually go through and goes through everything, but that's where the difference is. So it's really the management that have embraced it has really been the key. I'm seeing some of my smaller manufacturer companies that I support that are very much of the mindset, we do a lot of this stuff offshore anyways. Yeah. And so why can't we trust our employees to do the logistics from their home? There's so many different monitoring systems now that tells you exactly when you're on, when you're not. My other world of CLEs and everything else, they ask you questions every couple of minutes to make sure that you're watching, which is almost better than in person. I'm going to say that out loud too. So, the telework aspect of things, it was coming. It was allowed in a lot of different, more progressive workspaces, but now it's a reality. And in all honesty, that's the future, 100%. And so it's really how you deal with things in that aspect. You have to manage differently. I'm going to say you have to manage differently. And so that's something that I have worked with my companies that I work with on a normal basis. And with all this quarantining and everything else, it makes sense. It's a safer workplace for that reason too. So I'm seeing the employers going on the opposite side of being more cautious and being really supportive of telework. Telemedicine has been out there for years, and now this is the opportunity to really use it.
Did anyone else on the panel want to comment on this? We do have a question from the audience. So does anybody else have a follow-up on this?
Yeah, Casey, I want to follow up on that because I agree with a lot of what Emily said. And the one thing that she really said that I want to drill down on is you have to manage differently. I mean, that really is the mantra for 2021 moving forward, because here's what's happened to a lot of us as managers. So I come from a service background. I have 3 Roto-Rooter plumbing franchises, and they were in 2 different states. I had one in Texas. I had 2 in Florida. And what a lot of managers do is they manage based upon what they can see. They measure what they can see. And you can't do that when your workforce is doing remote things. So when it comes to setting your KRIs, your key results indicators, and your key performance indicators, you're gonna have to make a shift. It can't be based upon what you see coming off the product line. It has to be from what you have to shift it to what you can measure remotely. And it's going to be more about how smart people are working and how more efficiently people are working versus how much they are working. And that's really important. The one thing I would contradict Emily on maybe just a little bit, what I'm seeing with my clients is there's some of them, not all of them, but there are some of them that are attempting to migrate back to their offices because they are losing the productivity. It's difficult to work from home. I mean, we're seeing it now. You have to be disciplined, but they're also losing that team interaction, that team feeling. And so that's a real fine balance that they're trying to walk between being safe, working at home, and also having that sense of team.